Well, let me tell you what y'all may have missed. The Eagles caught their first loss of the season on Sunday. It was wild. Excuse me, it wasn't Sunday. It was Monday with the whole world watching. Now, many people tried to tell me it was a good loss. I listened, but then I thought again last night and I said, you know what? That wasn't a good loss. Ain't no good losses for mature teams. That's just a myth. And the Eagles were a mature team. Think about it. Jalen Hurts on November 3rd, what did he say that we all paid attention to? On November 3rd, Jalen Hurts said this. He said, yo, I've been 8-0 before, and I've lost the national championship. So we just have to take it day by day. We haven't accomplished anything yet. It's day by day. So the Eagles were mature. They didn't need a loss to set them straight. You know when you need a loss? In college, when players are immature, like the 2008 Florida Gators, when Tim Tebow, after they lost to Ole Miss, even though they were 28-point favorites, said, I promise a lot of good will come out of this. He said, you have never seen a player in the country play as hard as I will play and the rest of the season, and you'll never see someone push the team as hard as I'll push the team the rest of the season. That's when you need a loss. When you got some immature kids. Keep in mind, Florida went on to win every game by an average of 33 points the rest of that season and win a national championship. So as I was thinking about it, Shady, this wasn't a good loss for the Eagles, Big Doss. Okay. Saying this was a good loss is just kind of putting a mattress for me to lie down on as an Eagles fan. Right. There was not a good loss, but I've been waiting to hear your thoughts desperately. Do you believe this loss for the Eagles was a good one?
Yeah, it was a good loss, right? Two main reasons why. First of all, we'll never have 4 turnovers, interceptions, fumbles, missed calls. It was a bad game. I mean, as I watched the game, I'm thinking like, man, is it that we're so good or is Washington that bad? We really gave them the game. And every chance we had a chance to win the game. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like, and then one thing is you look at like the undefeated schedule, right? Or undefeated record. Oh my God, are we going undefeated? Now it's over with. Now we just focus on playing ball. Because sometimes you want to be perfect. We can't mess up. We're 8-0, 9-0, 10-0. You're trying to keep up with that track of being undefeated. Now we can just play football now.
So what were they playing before, Big Dog? If they weren't playing football, they can play football now. They play basketball.
But I'm saying it's like you're pressing.
Break this down for me.
You're trying to be perfect, right? It's like we can't lose. Why can't we lose? Because we're undefeated. We played plenty of games where we lost. I might be mad at the game that we lost, but it's not a big thing. We got 16, 17 more games to go, right? So you flush that loss out the window. But when you're undefeated, it's like, oh, we can't lose. We got to keep the streak alive. So it's really it's been done twice. Mm-hmm. So to know that you're trying to accomplish that, and I think when things like that happen, like you're pressing, you want to make every catch. You want to make every run, every pass, every interception. Like you're trying to do everything perfect. But now that that's over, we can just play football. AJ Brown talked about that in an interview. He said, man, like now I'm happy it's over with. Because everything that you hear about from the media, from Instagram, from Twitter, from your teammates, from family members, you're undefeated. You're undefeated. Every talk show, we're undefeated. Now that's over, we can just play ball.
Do you think that being 8-0 was affecting how Miles Sanders was running?
I need my tea.
You think being 8-0 was affecting how Jalen Hurts was passing? You think being 8-0 was affecting how A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith were running routes? Because that's where I disagree. No, I don't think being 8-0 was actually, like, changing how the Eagles were playing the game.
I think more like, so, for example, like, all right, when we got down, right? Not down just in the game in general, but, like, late in the game. All right, we got to have it. Where before, let's be cool, let's be calm. Let's go ahead and just win this game, fellas. Where now it's like, it's not trying to win a game. You're trying to win a game, but also you're thinking about that record. I've never been undefeated before. Think about that for a second. You play balls, not even NFL, just college, high school.
I was undefeated until the national championship game.
And
that's
lost.
why I feel like Jalen was talking about. And lost.
So you wasn't undefeated.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You wasn't undefeated.
I was like Jalen Hurts.
No. Let me say it again. You were never undefeated.
I was undefeated for 13 games. I was undefeated for a regular season.
But you felt that. You tried to be perfect.
That's where I disagree, but I'm glad to have you back. That's why I keep talking to you, Big Dog. Let's talk to the left.
You know I'm sick.
Let's talk to the left side of the table. Joy, you mentioned it a little bit. Elaborate on it. Good loss for the Eagles?
Well, you were undefeated. Right, you were undefeated?
I never was undefeated.
Never been undefeated?
Nah.
Well, you don't have something in common with Jeff Saturday, Shady.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, y'all been petty today.
Petty every day.
I come back, it's what I'm going through.
Petty every day. I think it was a good loss for the Eagles, and I disagree with you. I think there is a major psychological element to sports, and it's not limited to just college. If anything, it's more in the NFL because there's more pressure. You're playing for contracts. You're paying to pay your mortgages and for your kids and for your future. There's all kinds of pressure in the NFL. And when there's added pressure from the media and from fans and from your family members, you play tighter. There are psychological elements to sports. That's why I felt this was a good loss. Now, you prefer to have this loss not in your division, sure, but it is what it is. I also think that you can learn more from failures once you've had sustained success for a while. You're going into the film room. All right, we're doing this, but we could do this better. But you're like, okay, but we're doing this and it's working. We're doing this and it's winning. Well, then you do it and you don't win. You're like, okay, maybe I will tighten this up. Maybe I will pay a little more attention when I run this route. It's the small little things. It's a game of inches. It's like, it's very cliche, but that's how it goes. Yeah. So I think it's a big stress relief for the Eagles. I think they'll bounce back. And I don't feel like this team was ever a front runner to begin with because of the way that Jalen Hurts talked about the winning streak to begin with. It was always the next game. It wasn't about the future and an unprecedented run and all these extras that the media and all of us and fans were putting on them. So I do think it was a good loss. If there is such a thing as a good loss, I do feel like this was a good loss, especially because it was a sloppy game. Turnovers, weird penalties, drop balls after you make a big play. It was just every time they felt like they were getting there, something happened. And I don't anticipate that type of game again.
I guess, Dave, where I'm coming from is this. A good loss, in my mind, if there is such a thing, because let's be honest, right? No coach is like, yeah, that was a good loss.
Right.
But if we're going to use that cliche, a good loss is a loss you can learn from. But as Joy's alluded to, as Shady's alluded to off camera, as I think you believe, there's not a lot the Eagles can learn from that meets the eye from that last game that they couldn't learn from in wins. Like, what are you going to learn? Hey, Dallas Goedert, don't get face masked. Hey, A.J. Brown, if the ball hits both of your hands, catch it. Hey, Quez Watkins, if you're trying really hard, try really hard, and maybe protect the football. Hey, Brandon Graham, next time you see a quarterback slide at the end of the game with the game on the line, hey, don't hit him. Like, there's just not a ton that you're like, oh, yeah, that's an incredibly teachable moment, but Dave, teach me something. Was the loss good for the Eagles?
Well, there's two sides to me. And after 11 weeks of catching Dallas barbs from Shady over there on the other side of the desk, I'm tempted to just be like, any Eagles loss is a good loss, baby. Every Eagles loss is a good loss.
Hey, don't be negative now.
I'm kidding to a degree. Here's the thing. You're right. It was a fluky game, and that's what I said yesterday. I took some shots at you, Shady, but I was nice. I was nice about what that loss meant, which to me is a whole lot of nothing, really. And it's cool that you brought up Tim Tebow. Don't overlook the part where those Florida teams were as loaded as a college football team can possibly be loaded. Like when you've got Percy Harvin and the Pouncey brothers and Brandon Spikes and 10 other guys that I'm not remembering right now, it's a little different, okay? For me, it's like a pressure valve. It really, it's not so much that you learn from this loss, but you can just take the pressure down a little bit on this team. When you were giving your monologue, you know what I was thinking about? The Chiefs, the team that we all regard as one of the best teams in the league. When did they get their first loss?
Week 2?
Week 3. Indianapolis. And we all just kind of were like, that was weird. That's probably not the Chiefs. It's just a weird day. And we moved on. And like 24 hours later, we weren't even really thinking about it. Whereas with the Eagles, this is a 2 or 3 day storyline where it's like, oh my God, they're not unbeaten anymore. They can't catch the 72 Dolphins. Imagine if it got to 12-0. Or 13-0.
I'm with you.
And I covered the Cowboys for a long time, but I also grew up around the Saints. They started 13-0 the year they won the Super Bowl, and it was insane. Like the magnifying glass that gets on you when you start to put that many wins together, it takes on a life of its own. Yeah. So it's not that the Eagles need to learn from this. It just decreases the pressure just a little bit. Like Shady said, they can just focus on football and not any type of nonsense outside of that.
It would never happen again like that. So first of all, the whole season we had 3 turnovers.
3.
Right? And then Monday night we had, 4? It'll never happen again. I mean, like the end of the game, Brandon Graham, who's a veteran, who's a very, very intelligent player, he has a big mess up, right? Bonehead play, I would say. And he's trying to stop, but he's 265 pounds, and if you know BG, he got big feet. He can't stop.
He can't stop.
Okay, and then Quez Watkins, right? He beats the dude deep. They talked about how my guy can't throw the ball. He throws the ball deep in the game to win it. Catches a bomb, boom. Saturday's covering the ball with 2 hands, which most people probably would do. But hey, he's trying to make a play. Fumbles that. Then the Gogger, he gets the face mask, and then he fumbles. Like, that will never happen like that ever, ever again. And then the thing is, that for us to still have a chance to win the game, that shows what type of team we are.
Joy, I'm thinking about it like this. Retroactively is truly when you'll find out if it was a good loss. I would have said, if anything was a good loss, the Bills lost to the Jets, I would have called it a good loss. right? Josh Allen, you can't feel yourself, big dog. First play of the game, 42-yard bomb, Stephon Diggs. Third play of the game, interception. I would have been like, oh, good loss. You only lost one game all season. It was to the Dolphins. That didn't necessarily teach you that much. You lose to the Jets, a team you hadn't trailed by in 3 quarters. That'll wake you up. But then the very next week, they lost again. I don't know that we'll know if this is a good loss until retroactively, because a loss is only a good loss in my mind dependent on how the team responds. If you don't respond, then it was just a loss, not in fact a good one. Where do you stand on that?
Well, I would disagree about the Bills one, because now they've lost in division twice. So I don't know if I could. The Dolphins one I could give you, because at least they were competitive until the end. But you lose twice in division, you got some concerns now. Like, the Bills are in a more concerned space because of that. But I understand what you're saying as far as how the game went. I expect them to bounce back this week. I feel like this is going to be received as a very hot take on the internet. But they've got a team that's got a new emerging star at head coach this week. Had some struggles throughout the year, but they're back on the wagon. So this week, I feel like, is a good bounce-back week for the Eagles. Now, it's the NFL. Anything can happen. Like I said, everyone's riding high in Indy right now, so maybe they'll continue on that wave. Who's to know? We'll find out this weekend. But you want to restructure what you're doing, get focused again, gear up for next week, put this loss behind you, forget about worrying about going undefeated, and focus on what's in front of you. To Shady's point, all the pressure of that is gone now. You don't have to worry about having some unprecedented year. Just win the next game and continue doing what you do best, which is be the best team in the NFC.
Dave, let me come to you real quick before you take us home on this question. What's interesting about the National Football League is you get rid of pressure for one degree, but then you find pressure in a whole nother degree, right? Like, there's the pressure of making a team. Then there's the pressure of being a starter. Then there's the pressure of making a Pro Bowl. Then there's the pressure of being an All-Pro. There's pressure every single week. So while you get rid of pressure yesterday, you find new pressure tomorrow. Joy made the point, the Eagles do have the Colts. To me, that is pressure, because you sure as heck can't lose to Jeff Saturday and the sorry Colts. Do you think there's pressure on the Eagles now that they just evaporated and being undefeated? Or are you just kind of like, nah, no big deal?
No, and you mentioned it with the Bills. Like, a good loss becomes a losing streak really quickly if you're not careful, right? So, yes, there is pressure. There's pressure on every team to win every game. And I don't worry about it so much. Not to say that I don't think the Eagles can lose to the Colts, but they are one of the 2 or 3 most complete rosters in the NFL. There's a lot of guys that have played a lot of football on that team, between Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Fletcher Cox. See, they made Fletcher Cox play 70 snaps the other night. maybe bring that number down a little bit. But there are so many vets on that team, and you say, we've won 8 games in a row. There's no reason to press the panic button. That's when you rely on the experience like that.
Subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.